Hey, what's up, sports card investors? Yeah, it's your boy Sean with Blue Ridge Collectibles with a pretty interesting video. Some of this type of video has definitely shown up here in the last few weeks, and I figured we'd take a little bit of a time out of our day to explore it further. The basketball card market has been slip sliding away, and I guess the real question is: have we hit rock bottom? Do we expect the card market to retrace further? That's another question that people have, and ultimately, for a lot of the real investors out there, or people that just want to add pieces to their collection, where 30, 45 days ago they couldn't do it because the prices of cards just continued to climb and climb and climb, and something was bound to give, right? I think the name of the restart of the season, the bubble restart, was quite appropriate for also the card market. Some would say, you know what, Blue Ridge, the card market has certainly burst, and then now all the cards are going to come crashing down to pre, I guess, COVID levels. I think people can agree with me that a lot of this happened after March, when the whole nation was beginning to shut down and there was a stimulus package. There was kind of like house money being spent on collectibles, among a few other things. So the one sport that has kind of risen above first was basketball. Primarily because, basketball has that kind of international appeal. You know, people overseas, okay, there's some big time investors over there. They embrace the sport of basketball, and soccer is catching up. That's another sport also that is just seeing all sorts of strides in the market. But even soccer cards has begun to kind of slip a little bit. All right, we're not going to talk about soccer cards, but we're going to talk about basketball cards. Three important modern staples in this current era of basketball card collecting. We're going to talk about each one of those. But I would say we have seen roughly a 30% retrace, okay, a market adjustment, or what have you. But I'm going to tell you what, at the end of the video, okay, by the time we're done talking about the three main cards that have kind of buoyed the basketball card market, you're going to probably ask yourself, when is the right time to get back in? All right, because I guarantee you, by the time it's all said and done, if you're sitting there and you're waiting until the end of November or maybe December, that might be too late, okay? So the first card that we're going to take a look at, and my apologies for my face covering up a little bit of the text, I'll let you guys know exactly what that says, is going to be one of the most important cards of the modern era. It's the 2018-19 Prism Base and Silver. We're going to take a look at both cards in both graded and raw of Luka Doncic. That's his rookie year. Okay, and we're going to look at a 30-day analysis. What were these cards selling prior to the playoffs compared to what they are selling for right now? And we're also going to talk about how much time you have of this period of just kind of like wallowing sales and prices dropping. I mean, it's, again, like I said, it's not going to last forever. This is a standard market correction, much like the stock market if you're into investing and all that great stuff. Same deal. People are seeing sports cards as a true investment, all right? And people actually have large portfolios of these cards. So this is the first card we're going to take a look at right here. The second one is going to be, yes, this one's been iconic this year. It's been the source of frustration for a lot of people because the rising prices of boxes, especially Prism Basketball for 2019-20, because of the search for this gentleman right here. And we're going to look at the base and silver Prism Zion Williamson. We're going to do another 30-day analysis. How much has this card dropped? And when is the correct buying opportunity? You know, it might just be around the corner. And then finally, the last card is going to be the 2019-20 Prism Base and Silver John Morant, which, by the way, he is your Rookie of the Year. Played an entire year, has shown lots and lots of great athletic ability, flashes of brilliance, court awareness, explosiveness at the rim. This guy is going to be a staple in the NBA basketball card community for years to come. And I'm going to tell you what, this guy right here, I firmly believe is one of the most underpriced out of the three NBA rookies that we're going to talk about today. So we're going to look at another 30-day analysis. All right, so we're not going to do any fancy graphs or anything like that. We're going to simply go to the source in which a lot of these cards are being sold at, and that's on eBay. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at eBay. We're going to go ahead and just right off the hip, we're going to take a look at the Luka Doncic Prism base card first, and then go from there. And we'll see a combination of not only the graded material, but we're also going to see a good deal of raw cards as well. The 2018-19 Prism base Luka Doncic is still a card that can be had for a great deal. You could still find them raw with great centering. You know, a few years from now, I don't think that's going to be the case because the product is just way too expensive to break open. Unless you had $3,000 sitting around to buy a hobby box of 2018-19 Prism. All right, so we're going to go ahead and, you know, we have all the live listings that are right here. What I want to do is take a look at all of the sold listings because that's, you know, in hindsight, that's where all the data is. So in the last 90 days, we've seen 975 recorded sales of this card, starting with the most recent. Okay, now I sold a card like this about 60 days ago for $300 raw. As we could see, the first sale right out of the gate is one that sold September 15th for $485. So the market is still up there. These cards are still commanding a lot of money raw. All right, keep that in mind. And then we get into PSA 9. This one sold for $590. If you're into Beckett grading, okay, that's a little bit of a crossover effect there. $789.12 for a 9.5. All right, so, and of course we have other raw cards. This one is cringeworthy because you don't normally put these chrome cards in mags, in one touches. You just don't because of the surface. They could scratch those. But we have a PSA 10. This best offer was accepted, so it's somewhere south of $13.99. I would imagine somewhere between $1,000 to $1,200. And then you just see, I mean, you know, there are some recent sales of this card where it has definitely retraced back to the mid 300s to upper 300s. We've seen a few cards that have hit over $400. And I think the centering, as long as the pictures are easy to see, where you could actually kind of gauge not only the centering, but also the corners on the back too. That's important. So yeah, pretty crazy. Here's another PSA 9 that sold for $590. All right, so the prices are still kind of all over the place. Here's another PSA 9 at $449. So here's another one here for $349. So in a span of 3 days, we've seen the PSA 9 Luka Doncic rookie card go from like the $350, $400 range, and we've seen a few sales hit that $500 mark. So I'm beginning to wonder if maybe we are beginning to see kind of like that steady climb back up. I don't know. Here's another one that sold for $1150, a PSA 10 example. So we can agree that the PSA 10s at this point in time are selling somewhere in that $1,000 to $1,200 range. Now, let's go ahead and go back as far as we can, 30 days. Here's August 25th. Of course, the prices are way inflated, as you can see, given just the overall popularity of the cards. But yeah, pretty crazy stuff. Let's see, if I went back, one more. so we are going to go here. Okay, so this is perfect. We are at August 16th, and here's a 9.5 that sold for $931. That was the same card that we saw maybe a minute back in the video that sold for what, $759, if I'm not mistaken. And then here are your PSA 10s. This is a traditional auction format, by the way. So we have 28 bids in the amount of nearly $2,000 for a PSA 10 base Luka Doncic rookie card. All right, so as you can see, the price of this card. Now, let me see if I can find another PSA 10. And here's another one, $1,925. So we have seen about a 40% retrace on this particular card in just the last 30 days. Okay, that's kind of scary. It's like, man, this thing's free falling. Is there any more room to see this thing drop even further, possibly under $1,000? I'm going to say we're pretty close to the bottom on this card, even though the playoffs are still going around right now. We are coming into the Eastern Conference Finals, and then the Western Conference Finals will be determined this evening after the Clippers and Nuggets game. All right, so that's something to keep an eye out for. But yeah, pretty crazy, staggering drop from 30 days ago to right now, 45%. Holy smokes. So yeah, we've determined that. So we've seen the base card. Let's go ahead and check out the silver, starting out with the most recent of sales. All right, so keep this in your memory that a PSA 10 sold for $6,400. Okay, so I can tell you this right now, that card was selling pretty close to $10,000 30 days ago. And that's when, you know, the Mavericks were still in the hunt in the playoff picture at that point. The playoffs hadn't quite started or was about ready to start. But as we could see here, another PSA 10 sold for $6,100. You're not going to find too many raw examples of this card. Here's a PSA 9. So that is coming in at $2,250. All right, so the PSA 10s, we've seen recent sales within the last few days of about $6,000. The PSA 9s have been running about $2,200. And this is not, of course, including hyper silvers. Here's another PSA 9. The best offer was accepted, I don't know, probably closer to that $2,000, $2,500 range. Here's another PSA 9 silver that sold for $2,325. All right, so that's from September 10th. Here's another PSA 10, $6,250. So that $6,000 to $6,500 range is what we've been seeing up to this point. If we went back to August 30th, we need to go back a little bit older than that. So let's go to page 2. So we're at August 27th, and then we're probably going to go halfway down the list here. A little bit further than that. August 20. We'll go one more page. I could tell a lot of people have been selling the card here in the last 3 weeks. I'm wondering if it's just a case of, you know, needing to pay off credit cards because they've hemorrhaged a lot of money through buying some of these cards at the hottest possible time. All right, so we have a PSA 9. This is August 16th, by the way. PSA 9 that sold for $3,000. So we've come at $3,000 and we've dropped down about 25% to about $2,200. That's getting eerily close to what I would consider to be the absolute bottom. I think the cards will probably drop a little bit more, maybe another 5% after the NBA season for 2019-20 is over. And that's just based off of experience from what I've seen in the last 5 years, trend-wise. Now, this has been a atypical kind of year. Here's a PSA 10 that sold for $8,600. Keeping in mind that PSA 10s today are right around that $6,000 to $6,250 range right there. So we have seen a 25% drop in Luka Doncic silvers and PSA 10. All right, so let's look at a few other cards here. Here's another one here, $8,400. All right, so yeah, and I'm sure if we go back a little bit further, we'll see the listings for about $9,000 for those cards. All right, so that's good to know. So we've seen on the silvers about 25% drops, but the base cards are getting absolutely hammered with free falling retracing of about 40 to 45%. Those will probably hit 50%. All right, before they begin to plateau and then begin to make that trend line back up as we approach the upcoming season. Now, before I go into the Zion Williamson base cards and silvers, okay, there's two dates that you guys need to know. November 18th, okay, it's my birthday, by the way. But more importantly, it's the 2020-2021 NBA draft date. Okay, that's the next draft date for the upcoming season. You know, we're gonna have guys like let's see, LaMelo Ball is going to be in there. The Israeli guy, Denny Devjija, I can't pronounce his name correctly, but he's going to be in there. Okay, it's not nearly as stacked as this outgoing year of NBA draft prospects, but I don't think that's really going to play a role in softening the market any. If anything, it's going to have a larger impact on the 2019-20 rookies. Okay, much like this year's basketball play, we've seen a huge emphasis on the previous year, 2018-19. It's just like the whole draft class was stacked, huge. And because things are beginning to fall back down to earth as far as players for this upcoming draft, we are going to see more renewed interest in not only the 2019-20 draft, guys like Zion and John Morant, Kobe White, Tyler Hero, Rui Hashimura, but also the previous draft class also. So I don't know. You know, we're going to see here pretty soon. That's for sure. But let's go ahead and take a look at the Zion Williamson base cards. We're going to go ahead and start off from the top as usual. Okay, I can tell you this right now. These prices have dropped quite a bit. So the first card at the top, which sold on September 15th, which is earlier today, $178. Okay, I sold this card roughly 45 days ago for $225. So we've seen that retrace quite a bit. I'm going to actually go out and actually buy a few of these. Here's another one right here. It sold for $120. Jeez. This one right here, best offer, hard to know. You know, you guys can go on like Watch Count or some site like that to check and see what those sold for. Here's another one for $162, $170, $152 for raw cards. Let's go back 30 days. By the way, there are 3,242 completed sales in the last 90 days. Pretty crazy. All right, we'll go to page 3 here. Okay, so we're at the 19th. Let's go back just a hair further back, and then we should be good to go. All right, so I caught a glimpse of a few prices. So here's August 16th. Now, the prices aren't too dramatically different right here. We see this 9.5 sell for $350. And then here's a BGS 9 for $185. Here's a couple raw cards. Scroll down further. You know, the prices are somewhat similar. They're just a shade higher, not too much. But here you go. That's pretty much indicative of what the cards were selling for about beginning of August. Okay, before the actual playoffs began, because the Pelicans just gave up, and Zion was kind of like nowhere to be found in those last 8 games. So yeah, so we're seeing prices, in the upper $100 range, like $175, $200. And then, there's a couple nicer listings for like well-centered cards, in like $200 to $250 range. So we've seen about a 20% decrease in the base Zion. Now, again, we did see the listing for $120 in the mix. But let's go ahead and take a look at silver. This is a guy to watch. If he gets his conditioning in order, okay, as expected, because I think his team is taking the reins on his conditioning and how that's going to play out during this very short off season. It'll be interesting to see where the kind of, I guess, hype goes for his cards. So we got PSA 9 that's sold for a best offer somewhere south of $1,000. Oh, by the way, the beginning, because I told you guys to save like 2 dates, and I gave you November 18th as being one of them. The other one is going to be after Christmas. Okay, it's either going to be the end of December during that 1 week period of vacation, winter vacation for a lot of people, or sometime in January, the beginning of the 2020-2021 NBA season. So those are two important dates that'll determine where you go at direction-wise for a lot of these cards. Here's a PSA 10 that's sold for $3,600. That's where we're at on that. Here's another one for $3,550. That seems to be following a similar trend line for this period. Here's a base prism that's sold for actually sold for a best offer. Right there. I'm trying to find out. Here's a PSA 9 for $850. This is a PSA 8 for $620. That card had a lot of issues, I guess. And then here's another one that sold for a best offer, PSA 10. So we're looking at about $750 to $1,000 on the base silvers. Here's one for $700. All right, so that's what we're looking at there for the silvers. There was 4,626 different listings with the word silver and prism and Zion in there. Let's see, we'll go back to page 4 on this one. Okay, so here's where we're at August 28th. We need to go back even further yet. Well, it's 7. There you go. All right, so this is August 14th. So we're seeing base prisms, $750. There's another one that's sold. Here's another one here, PSA 10. The base Zion silvers have not dropped as much as you would think, considering that they've been out of the playoffs this whole time, and all that great stuff. But yeah, this is interesting information. We haven't seen that much of a drop off in these cards. Here's a PSA 10, 4,600. And I would imagine that we've seen a 20 to 25% retrace in PSA 10 Zions, which falls in line to the market correction. And then we're seeing about 20% retrace on the base Zion Williamsons too. But this is great data right here. See, they were selling for as low as $600 back in August 13th. With the centering, looks like pretty decent on that one. So the prices in the last 30 days haven't really kind of like glaringly changed. I think we're seeing a little bit more movement in the silvers than the base cards. Again, the base cards are still hovering in that 150 to 175 range. They have definitely dropped a little bit, but not that much. And then finally, before we go into the deep final analysis, we're going to look at Ja Morant, your Rookie of the Year. Okay, starting with his base card. I actually have a Ruby Wave of this card out to PSA as we speak. Sold listings. All right, so again, this dude is an incredible bargain. Okay, compared to the other guys, I mean, when you can buy a 9.5 base Ja Morant for $265 today, that is a screaming bargain. Now, there's going to be the fair amount of detractors that are say, well, base card prices are ridiculous, and they were ridiculous, and they should come crashing hard. In hindsight, that might be true for, like the LeBron base that was selling for over $100 for like a few weeks. And then now it's come crashing back down to like $20 to $30. And by the way, the real reason that is, it's considered his true rookie Lakers uniform card. But here you go. You know, $100, you could get yourself a really nice, pleasing example of this card in a base. Um, I had one like this. I sold it for $100. I mean, that is the market for something like this. But when you want to talk about true investment potential, it's going to be, and not only this, but also John Morant's silver, which we'll see here momentarily. So, you know, for around 75 to $100, you could score one of these base John Morant rookies. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back about 30 days ago to see where this card was performing at. And there you go. Well, it's August 27th, but you can see $152 for that card right there, where today you can buy them for under $100. It's just a telling sign. See one for 250. So these things have come crashing very hard here lately, and that's to be expected. Okay. All right. So for the base cards, 30 days ago, we were right there in that $150 range. Now, where we saw the biggest spike in the last 30 days was when he was announced as being the rookie of the year. Okay, so we saw the natural spike. You know, cards, just ungraded raw cards of this ilk, selling for over $200. This was the announcement of when he is the rookie of the year. All right, and then as a result, we're seeing just huge spikes across the board for this card. You know, here we're still at like $120. There's a few one-offs that are like over 200, which is kind of hard to explain. But here's a PSA 10 for $550, where you know I didn't find any previously. PSA 9 $192. I think if you're able to afford it, you might as well go for the PSA 10s of this card, and I would probably stake on that. But if you can afford it even more, the PSA 9 best offer. If you can afford it, definitely go after the silver of this guy, which we are going to look at right now. So we've seen a little bit of a retrace on John Morant. Here in the last 30 days, about 20%. So here's a BGS 9 for an undisclosed amount of money it sold for. Here's a raw example right here. Sold for $559. All right, so that's what we're looking at raw as the most recent. This is a card you could get for under $1,000 and 9.5, with the possibility of a crossover if it's a true gem. You know, what I like to see from these cards, if you were an investor, is obviously there's a huge premium associated with crossovers that go from a BGS 9.5 to a PSA 10. Now, obviously, this card is not going to, well, this is an optic hollow, but as you can see, True Gem will have quad 9.5s on all of the major hit points on the grade. So centering, corners, edges, and surfaces all scored 9.5. This is a card that, in hindsight, you could send off to PSA. It will probably come back at 10. All right, this is stuff that they like to see. But getting back to the discussion at hand, PSA 9 silver for $530. That's another recent sale. Here's another one for $495, $490, $510. So there was a string of them that sold. There you go. Even the autographs are pretty affordable of this guy. So PSA 10 on September 13th sold for $2,300. But there are quite a few PSA 9s littered in here. And you got a few silver hypers in there. Those are around 180. That's a bargain, you know. If you find one that's pretty well centered, that is certainly a bargain piece. Another PSA 9 for 501. So let's go ahead and go. let's see, page 6. Go back 30 days. So there's August 19th. Figure that's as good as any. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at a few. All right, so here's a PSA 10 gem that sold for an undisclosed amount of money. You guys can probably check that out and see how much it is. Base still holding strong right here, 430 bucks. Although the way the guy is holding it with that dirty fingernail, that's not how I would hold that card. The guy's a true rookie when it comes to holding these cards, that's for sure. There's one that sold for a best offer. All right, here's a PSA 10. So 27.50. All right, so it's come down just a shade, not that much. I think people are recognizing the true value of this guy and his playmaking ability, and the fact that he is a Rookie of the Year. You know, it means a whole lot at this point. This is a guy that's going to be a fantastic player for years to come. I would say that he's probably not quite to Luka Doncic's level yet. You know, he has a pretty good supporting cast around him with Jaren Jackson and, you know, a few of the other guys in there. So he's definitely going to get his playing time. He's going to be probably one of those 25-5 guys. I mean, that's pretty good. Don't get me wrong. And he will certainly play a role in any playoff scenario that you can imagine. So we're seeing very mild drops of this card, probably about 10%, maybe 15% on a few of the cards. But definitely the bargain of the three guys. Okay, when it comes to like the intangibles, actual numbers, it just don't lie. When you could buy a PSA 10 of this card for a lot less than the other two guys, okay, and he's the outgoing Rookie of the Year, man, that says a lot. Again, focus on the 9.5s with a possible crossover effect. But man, yeah, we're seeing very little movement in retracing of this card, which is incredible. Pretty incredible. So let's go ahead and talk about, you know, the possible, I guess, future of the market in general. Okay, so I gave you guys the date of November 18th. Up until probably 14 days before that event, basketball is kind of going to take a backseat to some of the other sports. Okay, we're going to have baseball playoffs here very soon. Football, we have gotten through the first official day of games, and people's minds have automatically shifted to NFL football. But when it comes to investing, okay, none of this stuff takes a back seat usually. Yeah, we've seen a pretty hard retrace here in the last 30 days. Luka Doncic, man, has fallen particularly hard, especially in the silvers and the base cards. So where we at here? Well, to be absolutely honest, it's mid-September. You probably have until about mid-October to make any sort of purchasing moves if you want to get in at the lowest possible level. There's going to be probably a small chance that we're going to see about another maybe 3 to 5% retrace on basketball cards in general. Okay, these cards have fallen pretty hard in the span of about 7 to 10 days. It was a very quick, very gradual drop, especially a lot of the teams that got bounced out of the playoffs. You know, we're seeing a lot of heavy drops there. But it's going to be a very tight, short window for purchasing some of these cards at the levels that they are at currently. And then once we get closer to that NBA draft, you know, NBA kind of comes back into people's minds, and then people are going to be buying again. And then they're going to be slowly paying up for a lot of these cards. And plus, we're also going to see kind of like this change from the 2019-2020 NBA product into the new stuff. Okay, so the opportunity to open up some of the older product for this year is good. You know, that window's closing as well. But there's a lot of dealers and all that still have that product on hand. And some of it has come down. 2019-20 Chronicles has come down quite a bit. That was a box that people were paying like $1,100 a pop for, and then now they're down to like $700 for a box. Still a lot of money, but considering that you have the opportunity to get like 3 or 4 or 5 of one of those big rookies in a box, and with the possibility of one being numbered, it says a lot. Okay, so there's a lot more opportunity to find some of the low numbered rarity Zions and John Morants and some of the other players. So I'm seeing about another 30 days of kind of like either flat growth or maybe slight retrace for the modern cards that we're seeing right now before they begin to kind of make a slow upward trend. By the time the 2020-2021 season begins, I will warn you guys, things are going to get crazy again after the first of the year. When people are doing their taxes, they're getting refunds back. They're going to be taking that money and they're going to be pumping it into NBA cards. Okay, among other things as well. It's all cyclical. Okay, but we came in just shooting up for the moon. Okay, and then you can only get so much upward movement before the thrusters go black on you, and then it comes crashing down, and then it flattens out and it comes back up. That's just the nature of the beast. Okay, but keep in mind, we will probably see $20,000 PSA 10 silver Luka Doncic's in the next 12 to 18 months. We're probably conversely going to see $6,000 to $10,000 Zion Williamson PSA 10 silvers in the next 12 to 18 months. These things are going to go up. All right. Now, in Zion's case, it's all about managing that weight and then getting back out and, really studying hard and playing and practicing in his case, because he has a lot to lose being the #1 pick in the draft, that you have to come out swinging. So anyways, that's going to go ahead and do it. I want to thank you guys for joining in on Blue Ridge Collectibles. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this kind of like deep dive analysis for some of these marquee players, these modern players. We're going to surely talk more about it as we go. But anyways, appreciate your guys' time. Oh, I got to do this, by the way. And this is all part of the gig, man. So we're here at this screen. There you go. Whoops. There you go. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Blue Ridge Collectibles out. You guys take care. Enjoy the hobby. All right.